Maya stood outside the tall iron gate with a small key in her hand. She kept looking at the house in front of her, as if it might change if she blinked. The mansion was huge. It had clean white walls, wide glass windows, and a long driveway that curved through a green lawn. Everything looked expensive, quiet, and perfectly kept. It still did not make sense. Maya had bought this mansion for $100. She was not rich. She was not lucky in life. She was a single mother who worked hard every day and still felt behind. She cleaned offices at night and worked at a small store in the afternoon. Her back often hurt, and her feet always felt tired. Every month, she counted her money again and again to make sure she could pay rent, buy food, and keep the lights on. Her son Leo was 8 years old. He was smart and kind, but he lived in a small apartment with her, where the walls were thin and the ceiling sometimes leaked when it rained. Leo never complained. That was what hurt Maya the most. He acted brave, even when she knew he deserved better. When Maya first heard about the auction, she thought it was a joke. A mansion on sale for almost nothing. But then she read the details. The house had a past. People in town said it once belonged to a dangerous man who made money in illegal ways. They said he vanished one night. Some people believed he ran away. Others believed he was taken away. No one agreed on the truth. The only thing everyone agreed on was this: they did not want anything to do with that house. At the auction, Maya sat in the back of the room with her hands folded in her lap. She felt out of place. Everyone there looked like they knew what they were doing. But when the mansion name was called, the room went quiet. A few people whispered. A few shook their heads. No one raised their hand. The auction worker looked confused, then annoyed. He lowered the price again and again, waiting for someone to bid. Still, no one did. Maya's heart beat faster. She thought of Leo sleeping on the sofa bed. She thought of the landlord who kept raising rent. She thought of how tired she was of apologizing to her son for things that were not his fault. Her hand went up slowly. The room turned toward her. Some people stared like she had done something wrong. A man in the front laughed softly, then stopped when Maya did not look away. The auction worker blinked, asked if she was sure, and then hit the small hammer on the table. The mansion was hers. Now she was here, standing outside the gate, with a key that felt too heavy for such a small piece of metal. Maya took a deep breath and pushed the gate open. It made a low sound, like it had not moved in a long time, but it did not fight her. The driveway was clean. The grass was trimmed. Even the flowers along the path looked fresh, not wild or messy like an abandoned home. That made Maya feel uneasy. An empty house should look empty. This one looked like someone had left it yesterday. She walked up the steps and reached the front door. It was made of dark wood, thick and solid. She put the key in, turned it, and heard the lock click. When she pushed the door, it opened smoothly. Inside, the air was cool and smelled clean, like someone had recently used fresh soap. Maya stepped into a wide hallway with shiny floors and tall walls. A large chandelier hung above her, but it was turned off. Light from the windows still made the place bright. She looked around slowly. There was furniture. A long couch sat in the living room to her right, neat and dust-free. A glass table stood in front of it. A thick rug lay under the table, perfectly straight. On the far wall, there were picture frames, but every frame was empty. No photos. No art. Just blank spaces. Maya walked closer and touched one frame. It was cold. She expected dust, but there was none. Her stomach tightened. "Why is it like this?" she whispered to herself. She stepped back and looked around again. A lamp stood beside the couch. A shelf held books, but when she pulled one out, she noticed something strange. The book was real, but it looked untouched. The pages were too clean, like no one had read it. Maya moved toward the kitchen. The counters were spotless. A bowl of fake fruit sat in the center. Cabinets lined the walls, but when she opened them, they were mostly empty. A few plates. A few cups. Nothing more. It felt like the house was pretending. Like someone wanted it to look normal from the outside, but they never meant to live here in a real way. Maya heard a small sound behind her and froze. She turned quickly. Nothing was there. Only the quiet hallway. Maya let out a slow breath and tried to calm herself. She told herself she was nervous because of the rumors. A big house could make small sounds. Pipes, wood, and wind could create noise. Still, she did not like the feeling in her chest. She walked upstairs, step by step. The stairs did not creak. They were too quiet for an old house. At the top, she found a long hallway with many doors. She opened the first one. A large bedroom. The bed was made perfectly, like in a hotel. The curtains were drawn, but not fully closed. Sunlight cut a bright line across the floor. The closet was empty, but the hangers were lined up in neat rows, all facing the same direction. Maya opened another door. A child's room. Her eyes widened. A small bed. A desk. A shelf with toys. Everything looked clean, like it was waiting for someone. Maya took one slow step into the room. Her throat felt dry. This did not make sense. People said the man who owned the mansion lived alone. So why was there a child's room? She touched the desk. It felt smooth, not dusty. On top of it was a notebook. Maya opened it carefully. The pages were blank. Maya closed it and stood still for a moment, trying to understand what she was seeing. Then she noticed something else. A door at the end of the hallway. It was different from the others. It was darker, and it had a strong lock on it, thicker than any normal bedroom door. Maya walked toward it without thinking, like something was pulling her. She reached out, placed her hand on the handle, and felt how cold it was. She tried to turn it. Locked. Maya leaned closer. Near the lock, there were tiny scratch marks on the wood, like someone had tried to open it many times. Her heart started beating faster. She stepped back, staring at the door. All the rooms felt strange, but this door felt worse. It felt like the real secret of the mansion was behind it. Maya swallowed hard. She told herself she should not be curious. She should go home, bring Leo, and focus on cleaning and making the place safe. But she could not stop looking at the door. Because deep inside, she knew this mansion was not just a cheap house with a bad history. It was a place that still held something important. And whatever it was close. Say continue part 2 when you're ready. Maya stood in the hallway for a long moment, staring at the locked door. Her heart was beating fast, and she could hear it in her ears. She slowly pulled her hand away from the handle. Something about that door made her feel uneasy, like it was warning her to stay back. She turned away and walked downstairs, trying to calm herself. The house was quiet again, too quiet. She told herself she was letting fear control her thoughts. After all, this place was hers now. No stories, no rumors, and no past owner had the right to scare her. Maya decided to explore the rest of the house carefully. She moved into a large room at the back of the mansion. It looked like an office. A wide desk stood near the window, and a heavy chair was pushed neatly under it. On the desk were several drawers, all closed. Maya hesitated, then pulled the first drawer open. Inside were papers stacked neatly. She picked one up and read it. Most of the pages were about money, properties, and business deals. The writing was clear and careful. The man who owned this house had planned everything in detail. Maya opened another drawer. This one held several small boxes. She opened the first box and found keys inside. Not house keys, but locker keys. Each key had a small metal tag with a number on it. She frowned. Why would someone keep so many locker keys in their home? Maya placed the box back and closed the drawer. She felt like she was stepping into someone else's life, one that was not meant to be understood easily. She walked toward the back door of the mansion and opened it. Outside was a wide yard, much larger than she expected. At the far end stood a small building, separate from the main house. It looked like a storage room or a guest house. Maya stepped outside. The air felt fresh, and the sun was slowly moving lower in the sky. She walked toward the small building, her shoes crunching softly on the gravel path. The door of the small building was unlocked. Inside, the room was empty except for one long table and several shelves along the walls. On the shelves were boxes, all labeled with dates. The dates went back many years. Maya opened one box carefully. Inside were old photos. She picked one up and looked closely. The photo showed a group of people standing together, smiling. Some looked young. Some looked older. They were not rich or dangerous looking. They looked normal. Like families. Maya flipped through more photos. In many of them, she noticed the same man. He was tall, with calm eyes and a serious face. This had to be the man who owned the mansion. But in these photos, he did not look like a criminal. He looked like a father. In one photo, he stood beside a young boy, his hand resting gently on the child's shoulder. Maya's chest tightened. She put the photos back and closed the box. Her thoughts raced. The rumors in town said the man lived alone. But these photos told a different story. Maya returned to the house, her mind full of questions. She locked the doors behind her and sat down on the couch in the living room. She rested her elbows on her knees and stared at the empty picture frames on the wall. Why were they empty? It felt like someone had removed the most important parts of their life and left only the space behind. Maya checked the time on her phone. Leo would be finishing school soon. She knew she should leave and pick him up. But she did not want to bring him here until she understood this place better. Before leaving, she decided to check the locked door upstairs one more time. She climbed the stairs slowly and walked down the hallway. The door stood there, silent and heavy. Maya examined it more closely. She noticed a small metal plate near the floor, slightly loose. She knelt down and gently pushed it. The plate moved. Behind it was a small opening. Inside, Maya found a folded piece of paper. Her hands shook as she pulled it out. The paper was old, but the writing was clear. It was a letter. Maya read it slowly. The letter talked about protection. About keeping something safe until the right time. It mentioned records, truth, and people who deserved justice. It did not mention any illegal acts. It spoke about exposing lies and protecting the innocent. At the bottom of the letter was a name. Not the name of the man who owned the house. It was another name, one Maya did not recognize. Maya folded the letter and stood up. Her heart was racing again, but this time not from fear. From curiosity. This house was not hiding something bad. It was hiding something important. Maya locked the mansion and left to pick up Leo. On the drive, she kept thinking about the child's room, the photos, and the letter. She did not tell Leo anything yet. She smiled and listened as he talked about his day at school. That evening, back in their small apartment, Maya lay awake in bed. She stared at the ceiling as rain tapped softly against the window. Her thoughts returned again and again to the mansion. She knew one thing for sure. She could not ignore what she had found. The next day, Maya returned to the mansion early in the morning. This time, she brought a notebook and a pen. She wanted to write everything down. Every detail. Every question. She started in the office again. This time, she searched deeper. Behind the desk, she found a hidden panel. It opened easily, like it was meant to be found. Inside were folders. Each folder had names, dates, locations. Maya opened one folder and felt her breath catch. These were records of people who had lost their homes, their savings, or their rights because of powerful individuals. The man who owned the mansion had been collecting proof. Proof of wrong actions by important people. Maya understood now why the house was abandoned. Why no one wanted it. Why the man had disappeared. He had been preparing to reveal the truth. But he never got the chance. Maya closed the folder and sat down slowly. She felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She was not just a woman who bought a cheap house. She was now the person standing between the truth and silence. And soon, the world would notice. Say continue part 3 when you are ready. Maya sat in the quiet office for a long time, holding one of the folders in her hands. The sunlight from the window fell across the desk, but she barely noticed it. Her mind was busy trying to understand everything she had just discovered. This was not just an empty mansion with a strange past. This house held pieces of truth that someone had tried very hard to protect. She slowly placed the folder back inside the hidden space and closed the panel. Her hands felt heavy. She knew that once she fully stepped into this, her life could change in ways she did not expect. But she also knew she could not walk away. Maya packed the folders carefully into a bag. She locked the office door and checked every window before leaving the house. As she stepped outside, she looked around the quiet street. Nothing seemed unusual. No strange cars. No watching eyes. Still, she felt like the house was no longer just a building. It was a responsibility. That afternoon, Maya picked up Leo from school and brought him home. She cooked dinner and listened to him talk about his friends and his homework. His voice helped her feel calm. He was the reason she made every hard choice. She watched him eat and laugh, and she knew she had to be careful with whatever came next. After Leo went to bed, Maya sat at the small kitchen table in their apartment. She opened her notebook and began writing everything she remembered. The empty frames. The child's room. The photos. The letter. The folders. She wrote until her hand hurt. One question kept returning to her mind. Why had the man trusted this house to hold the truth? The next morning, Maya took Leo to school and then drove back to the mansion. She decided to bring him there that weekend, but only after she made sure it was safe. Today, she wanted to learn more. She went straight to the small building in the yard. The boxes of photos were still there. She opened another box and examined the pictures more closely. She noticed dates written on the back of some photos. They matched the dates on the folders she had found inside the house. This was not random. This was planned. Maya returned inside and sat in the living room. She stared at the empty frames again. Then she realized something important. The frames were not just empty. They were numbered. Small numbers were carved into the corners, almost impossible to see unless you looked closely. Maya stood up and counted them. There were 12 frames. She walked back to the office and counted the folders again. There were 12 folders. Her heart began to beat faster. She brought one folder into the living room and placed it under the first frame. The name on the folder matched a name written lightly on the back of the frame. Maya covered her mouth with her hand. Each frame belonged to a story. Each folder held proof. The man had planned to fill these walls with truth for the world to see. But something had stopped him. Maya felt a mix of fear and respect. This man had taken a huge risk. He had trusted that one day, someone would find this and finish what he started. That someone was her. Later that day, Maya visited the local library. She did not ask about the mansion directly. Instead, she searched old news records on public computers. She looked for stories about missing people, sudden disappearances, and closed investigations. After hours of searching, she found something. A short article from years ago. A man with the same name from the letter had been reported missing. The article said he was a quiet man who worked alone and kept a low profile. The case was closed quickly, with no clear answers. Maya leaned back in her chair. Her chest felt tight. The man had not been a criminal hiding from the world. He had been someone trying to protect others. On her way home, Maya stopped at a small cafe. She needed time to think. She sat near the window and watched people walk by. Everyone looked normal, busy with their own lives. None of them knew what was hidden inside that mansion. Maya understood now why the house sold for so little. People feared what they did not understand. Silence was easier than truth. That night, Maya made a decision. She would not rush. She would not call attention too soon. She would organize everything carefully. She would protect Leo first, always. Over the next few days, Maya spent every free moment at the mansion. She cleaned rooms, fixed small things, and made the house feel more like a home. At the same time, she sorted the folders, read every page, and wrote notes. She noticed something else. Many of the records showed that people had tried to report unfair treatment but were ignored. Their voices were small, alone. Maya realized the truth needed to be shared in the right way. One evening, while cleaning the child's room, Leo walked in quietly. He had followed her without her noticing. He looked around the room with wide eyes. "Is this my room?" he asked softly. Maya knelt beside him and smiled. "It can be, if you want." Leo touched the desk and the shelf. His smile grew bigger than she had seen in a long time. "I like it," he said. Maya hugged him tightly. In that moment, she knew she was doing the right thing. Later that night, after Leo was asleep in his new bed, Maya returned to the locked door at the end of the hallway. She had avoided it for days, but now she felt ready. She unlocked it using one of the keys from the box in the office. The door opened slowly. Inside was a small room with shelves, a table, and a safe built into the wall. The safe was open. Inside were copies of the same records she had already seen, along with a final letter. Maya read the letter carefully. It spoke about trust, about believing that good people still existed. It thanked the future reader for being brave enough to continue. Maya closed the letter and felt tears in her eyes. She was no longer just a single mother who bought a cheap mansion. She was now the guardian of a truth that could change many lives. And soon, others would start asking questions. Say continue part 4 when you are ready. Maya stood alone in the small hidden room, holding the final letter close to her chest. The words stayed with her long after she finished reading. She felt a deep sense of duty, mixed with fear. This was no longer just about a house or its past owner. This was about people who had been hurt and voices that were never heard. She locked the room carefully and stepped back into the hallway. The mansion felt different now. It no longer felt cold or silent. It felt awake, as if it had been waiting for this moment. Over the next week, Maya created a routine. She worked during the day, cared for Leo, and spent evenings organizing everything she had found. She labeled folders, copied important papers, and stored them safely. She did not rush. She wanted to do this the right way. Leo adjusted quickly to the new house. He explored every room with excitement. He ran through the halls and laughed loudly, filling the space with life. Maya watched him and felt grateful. The mansion was no longer a place of secrets alone. It was becoming a home. One afternoon, while Maya was sorting papers in the office, there was a knock at the front door. The sound surprised her. No one ever came here. She froze for a moment, then took a deep breath and walked toward the door. She looked through the window first. A middle-aged woman stood outside, holding a folder. She looked nervous but calm. Maya opened the door slowly. "Hello," the woman said. "My name is Helen. I live a few streets away." Maya nodded. "Can I help you?" Helen hesitated, then spoke quietly. "I heard someone bought this house. I wanted to see who." Maya felt her heart beat faster but kept her voice steady. "That was me." Helen looked relieved. "I am glad it was you. I was afraid it would sit empty forever." Maya invited her inside. They sat in the living room, surrounded by the empty frames. Helen looked at them and smiled sadly. "He planned to put pictures there," Helen said. Maya looked at her in surprise. "You knew him?" Helen nodded. "Yes. He helped my family years ago. He helped many people." Maya listened as Helen shared her story. How the man had helped her keep her home when powerful people tried to take it away. How he had gathered proof and protected her identity. How he asked her to stay quiet until the right time. He said someone brave would finish his work, Helen said softly. I think that person is you. Maya felt a wave of emotion. This was the first time someone else confirmed what she believed. Over the next few days, more people came. A man who lost his business unfairly. A woman whose savings disappeared because of false actions. Each one had a story. Each one recognized the house. Maya realized the mansion had become a place of hope. She began recording their stories with their permission. She stored everything safely and explained that she would not share anything without care. The people trusted her. They saw her honesty. They saw her strength. One evening, Maya received an email from a local journalist named Daniel. He had heard rumors about the mansion being sold and strange visitors coming and going. He asked for an interview. Maya did not reply right away. She knew attention could be dangerous if handled poorly. She thought carefully and spoke with the people who had come forward. Together, they agreed that silence was no longer helping anyone. Maya invited Daniel to the house. During the interview, she shared only the truth that could be proven. She showed documents without names. She spoke about the man who collected the records, without painting him as a hero or a villain. She focused on the people who were affected. Daniel listened quietly. He asked careful questions. He did not rush. When the story was published, it did not cause chaos. It caused questions. People began asking why these cases were ignored. Why records were hidden. Why voices were silenced. Officials were forced to respond. Investigations reopened. Independent groups offered support. Maya stayed calm through it all. She protected Leo from the noise and kept him focused on school and friends. She explained things in simple words when he asked. "You are helping people," Leo said one night. Maya smiled. "We are helping people." The mansion became known as a place of truth. People came not for fear, but for answers. The empty frames on the walls were slowly filled, not with faces, but with written stories. Each one told with care and respect. Maya often stood back and watched visitors read quietly. Some cried. Some smiled. All of them listened. One afternoon, Maya found a small envelope slipped under the front door. Inside was a note. It read, "Thank you for finishing what I could not." Maya held the note and felt peace for the first time since she bought the house. She looked around the living room, now full of life, truth, and purpose. The mansion was no longer a mystery. It was a promise kept. The mansion felt peaceful in the early morning light. Sun rays passed through the large windows and rested on the walls that were once empty. Now they carried stories, written with care and honesty. Maya stood in the living room holding a cup of tea, watching Leo get ready for school. His laughter echoed through the halls, something she still smiled about every day. Life had changed, but not in a loud or flashy way. It changed slowly, like a deep breath after a long struggle. The story about the mansion continued to spread. More people came forward, not just from the town, but from nearby cities. They brought documents, letters, and memories. Maya welcomed them carefully. She never rushed. She listened more than she spoke. The house became known as a place where people were heard. Local groups began to help review the records. Honest officials stepped forward to support proper investigations. Some old cases were corrected. Some families finally received answers they had waited years for. Maya never stood in front of cameras for attention. She stayed behind the scenes, making sure everything was done with care. Her focus stayed on safety, truth, and fairness. One afternoon, Maya received a letter in the mail. It had no return address. Inside was a simple message from a group that had recovered lost property because of the records found in the mansion. They thanked her for giving them hope when they had almost given up. Maya folded the letter and placed it in a small box she kept in her room. The box held many notes like this now. She did not collect them for pride. She kept them as reminders on hard days. Leo adjusted well to the new life. He made friends in the neighborhood and enjoyed having a yard to play in. He liked helping his mother organize papers and greet visitors politely. Sometimes he asked questions, and Maya answered in ways he could understand. "You found this house because you were brave," Leo once said. Maya smiled. "No. I found it because I needed a home." One evening, Maya stood alone in the office, looking at the desk where it all began. She thought about the man who once lived here. He never got to see the results of his work. But his effort was not wasted. She whispered a quiet thank you and turned off the light. The final investigation reports were released months later. They confirmed many of the records stored in the mansion. Changes were made. Systems improved. New rules were written to protect people from losing their rights unfairly. The town changed too. People stopped whispering about the mansion with fear. They spoke about it with respect. Some even brought their children to read the stories on the walls, teaching them the importance of honesty and courage. Maya watched this change with a calm heart. She did not feel powerful. She felt responsible. One day, a small ceremony was held in the garden of the mansion. Nothing fancy. Just people standing together, grateful. Helen was there, along with many others who had once felt forgotten. Helen hugged Maya tightly. "You gave this place a future," she said. Maya shook her head gently. "This place gave all of us a voice." As the sun set, Leo ran through the garden, chasing fireflies. Maya watched him and felt something she had not felt in years. Security. Not just in money or walls, but in purpose. That night, Maya sat at the kitchen table with her notebook. She wrote the final entry. She wrote about how fear kept people silent. How truth needed patience. How even an ordinary person could protect something important. She closed the notebook and placed it on the shelf beside the last letter from the hidden room. The mansion was no longer known for its past owner. It was known for what it became. A place where truth was found. A place where a single mother and her son built a future from courage, care, and honesty. Maya turned off the lights and walked upstairs. Leo was already asleep, peaceful and safe. She stood at his door for a moment, smiling. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries do not come from wealth or power. They come from choosing to do the right thing when no one expects you to. And that was the real story hidden inside the mansion.